To tell you the truth, I'd never seen anything in an older woman that interested me in terms of dating or relationships that I wanted or liked. I am aware that some of you who are watching this simply cannot get enough of them, but for the life of me, I cannot fathom why a man would want a woman who is in her late 30s, 40s, or 50s. I know that some of you simply cannot get enough of them. Why settle for a mature piece of tail feather when you can have a young one in her prime instead? Aside from the fact that those who aren't much bigger than a cow are great in the bedroom because of their sexual experience, what else do they have going for them? I just don't understand the fascination with these kinds of women, especially considering that they are on the clock to start looking like grandmothers in a few years at the most, and that older women are not your best option if you want to have children with your partner. You will most likely be forced to go the route of in vitro fertilization, which can cost a crap ton of money just to get a child when you could easily and inexpensively impregnate a young woman. In vitro fertilization is an option. Do you see where I stand on that side of the argument? If you wanted someone just to pleasure you and bust gallons, then I would agree that they would be fantastic. Do you see where I am coming from? If they don't have an itchy scratchy and they can't get pregnant, then it will be even better for some of you naughty boys because you'll be able to roar all you want in that wet vice grip as much as you want, and she won't be able to get pregnant no matter how much you do it. I get it, but I see men out here shacking up with women who have teenage kids or women who are past their decline, and I wonder why men would do that if you're like 60 and dating a woman who's 35. I get it, but I see men out here shacking up with women like that. That makes sense, or a guy in his 50s dating a woman in her 30s, that makes sense to me, but men in their 20s and 30s are dating women in their late 30s to mid-50s, and that makes no sense to me. And here I am wondering what the hell is wrong with these guys, and then to make matters worse, you get shamed by society for not dating XXs who obviously aren't worth taking seriously in a relationship. So, I'm curious about where we, as a society, are headed, but I have a feeling it won't be a good place. However, before I get into it with the people who are shaming men for not dating leftover women, I want to address something else. Because I have a preference, and that preference does not involve older women, I have never buried my salami in an older woman. My preference is not for older women. But what I do have is the experience of living with older women, and trust me when I say that I would never in a million years want to wake up beside an older XCX every day. So I'm going to be real with you guys and tell you that I personally don't have the experience of dating or lying down with one beneath the sheets. But what I do have is the experience of living with older women. First of all, the vast majority of them are not pleasant to be around, and as a result of the fact that they have ruined their lives since they were younger, they have a tendency to have a pessimistic outlook on life. They are nagging, complain a lot, have a ton of problems, are rarely ever truly happy, crazy, and miserable, among other things. They are bitchy. That I've been forced to put up with living with older women is, to put it mildly, unbelievable. If you don't believe me, then look at older married men and tell me if they don't look like lifeless husks that are just walking around without a soul. If you still don't believe me, then look at older married women. Some of these guys give off the impression that they are just waiting to pass away so they can escape from their wives. When I see young and middle-aged men gravitating toward older women, I can't help but wonder whether these men are going through a difficult time or are simply oblivious to the trap. For them to choose those kinds of women to be in a committed relationship, in my opinion, they either have a fetish, they are financially desperate, or they are unable to get younger women. However, this is just my opinion. Therefore, let's take a look at the reasons why men are shamed for not dating leftover women in today's society. Number 1, society wants men to take care of women. This should not come as a surprise, but the people who surround you will always want to see women taken care of and in the best possible situation. Even at the expense of men, and not only that, but the government is already aware that women require support. A good example of this is the recent student loan bailout. That serves as a prime illustration of the fact that women are unable to make it on their own, regardless of how tough and self-reliant they may appear to others. However, society does not look down on or punish these types of women simply because they require assistance from other people. If this does not happen, they will find themselves living on the streets or becoming even more dependent on the system, which is why there is such a strong emphasis on the notion that older women can still look beautiful and that 45 is the new 25. The federal government does not wish to provide assistance to these individuals due to the fact that doing so would quickly deplete resources allocated for Social Security and other programs designed to assist individuals in need in the United States. Since there are more women than men, women tend to stick together and encourage other women to lobby men to support them if they find themselves in a position where they are financially dependent on a man but are alone. So what do? They shame the man for wanting to date younger women in their late teens and 20s, and then they label him with a variety of isms and files in an effort to stop and control him from dating younger women. However, take note that when an older woman dates a younger man, everyone around her applauds and encourages her to continue doing so. This is the case despite the fact that most people are aware that this is not acceptable behavior for a woman unless she is extremely wealthy. Because the majority of women are terrible with money, you simply have to accept the fact that she will eventually require financial assistance later on in life. That at the end of the day, it all comes down to women getting support. We can all agree that there is no such thing as a powerful and independent woman, and the student loan bailout is an example of this. And there was never a time when women needed men or someone to help them get by and support themselves, but unfortunately, number 2, modern science has lengthened the amount of time that women can continue to be suitable mates. If a woman has the appearance of being elderly, no one will be concerned if she is dating or involved in a long-term relationship. This is a fact that we are all well aware of. If she is single, which is something that we already assume old women to be, given that their husbands typically pass away before them, we would not be surprised. And if you give it some thought, it makes perfect sense why a man would want to check out of life early. On the other hand, thanks to the miracles of modern science, as Coach Greg Adams would put it, a woman can look pretty good for her age. As a result, people will unconsciously want those women who can still look youthful despite the use of makeup, Botox, hair dye, and breast and booty implants to have a partner because of the way that we're wired. If you don't believe me, then observe that almost everyone asks a young adult to go out with them. This is because we want to see people who are still looking young when they are with someone else. If they are seeing someone, nobody anticipates that someone young and of legal age will be single, and the same is true of their exes, who can paint their face like a clown and still look good so long as older women can still look youthful. If you go against the grain and actually want the women that these women are trying to look like, then they'll shame you. As an older guy, always remember that. If you go against the grain and actually want the women that these women are trying to look like, then they'll shame you. It's a competition between women and men to find a partner, so in the case of women who have to compete to get the best man they possibly can, they'll use whatever strategies are necessary to hit a man, even if that involves shaming him into dating them rather than younger women. Men, on the other hand, don't have to compete to find a partner because they don't have to. Then they will do it if that involves taking that man away from the young woman, then they will do it. How many stories have you heard about mothers taking their daughters' boyfriends? I think you see what I'm getting at now. Therefore, as long as women can maintain a youthful appearance and successfully compete with younger women, men will never stop being shamed into dating. Leftover women, you need to keep in mind that older men are the ones who have the money and resources in society if all of the single older men with money go and date the young women. And if young men were only interested in dating younger women, who would be left to pick up all of the divorced? Leftover women back on the marketplace, or all the so-called strong and independent women who never prioritized relationships and are now single and struggling. When you really stop and think about it, it all boils down to money and the availability of partners. Because there are not enough men in America for each woman, the number of available men will decrease as more men date younger women. This is due to the fact that there are not enough men in America for each woman. They have to come up with a strategy to prevent their limited supply of men from entering the market that is filled with younger women, and they have found that shame is effective in accomplishing this goal. Because of this, you'll often hear people say things like she's young enough to be your daughter, or you're a pervert for wanting that young 22-year-old woman, you're a metaphase and a grapeist. Both of these statements are true. And why on earth would you want to date younger women when you aren't going to have anything in common with them, and dating younger women is the best shame tactic of all? She will only take advantage of you for your financial resources, as if this were something that not all women, including older women, are capable of doing. I want you to understand why you'll hear these things from the people around you. It's just to prevent you from dating young women and have you as the cleanup man for these leftover 304s, which is the final reason. I want you to know that. They don't want men to realize that these women don't have any value anymore, so they shame men for not dating leftover women. This is why men are shamed for not dating leftover women. We are all aware that leftover women are not desirable in terms of being a long-term partner, a mother to your children, or arm candy, and the vast majority of these girls have nothing more to offer than baggage children from the deaths of other men. Mental illnesses are the itchy-scratchy that give people the ability to not have children without the assistance of modern science and a history with all of the digging sticks that they have learned those behaviors throughout their younger years, and those behaviors are what the majority of men are getting out of their relationships with women. If men knew they were getting a bad deal, they would never choose those kinds of women as partners. Men who choose leftover women are getting the worst version of these women because society sells the dream that these women are still valuable. However, if society sells the dream that these women are still valuable, then of course someone will snatch them up. Because other men got them when they were at the height of their powers, and you're getting her when she's on the decline, how is that a win? Other men got her when she looked her most beautiful and natural self. Is it really a win that you're getting this woman after she's raised the price of how much she needs per month to maintain herself when you're getting the version of her that needs Botox and makeup to look decent? While you're getting the version of her that you're getting, she needs those things to look decent. When other men got her for a lot less money when she was younger and had more value, see what I mean? And some already have kids from other men that you'll probably have to help out depending on how old they are or whether or not their mother still lives with them. That gets a L in my book. So realistically, if most men could look at older women objectively, see their actual value, and realize they're getting a bad deal, then most men would not date older women. This is why shame is used. Most men would not date older women if they could do so. When a man doesn't care about shame and does whatever he wants, society relies so heavily on control mechanisms to keep men in check and prevent them from thinking clearly. I want you to understand that women do not have any power over men, and the only men who will fall for the shame trap that people have set to keep men dating older women until those men stop caring about what other women think of them are the ones who care about what other women in society think of them. But it is what it is, and I just want you guys to understand why they shame you. Otherwise, shame tactics will keep those men on the plantation of dating leftover women and getting a raw deal. The choice is yours to make given how challenging things will become if you give in to their attempts to exert control over you. I'm going to leave now. I appreciate everyone who watched.